Finally, after 3 years, I made another stop motion. Yes, it has been that long. And although it was only around 3 minutes worth of content, all for the purpose of advertising, I'm sure many people were impressed by it. That small stop motion was my best stop motion to date, and it was quite an interesting process. Naturally, I'm dying to talk about it. So let's take a look at the VFX, animating, and techniques used in Return of the Army Men Super Tank, where maybe you can learn some new skills to use in your next Army Men stop motion. The short was shot on a simple desk to fit the idea. It was supposed to be cartoonish, like Toy Story, showing toy soldiers as toys. I wanted to capture the imagination of kids playing with toy soldiers as if they were alive, to capture the audience who would have played with army men as kids. And plus, it was much easier than filming anywhere else. And you might not think about it, but location is dreadfully important in film. Film somewhere with light, and it goes away. Film somewhere with people, and they jitter. When making a stop motion, you have to choose very wisely on set location because you might be stuck there for months. I made a simple set with some desk items, which luckily was very easy. Keep in mind, this stop motion was short and basically for an advertisement. Making the bully, editing, and managing sales was already enough work. I couldn't put my heart and soul into everything. Lighting was also important. I closed my blinds to reduce outside light, which, if you're new to stop motion, outside light can be problematic because if a cloud goes over the sun, then your stop motion will be dark and your lighting will be flickery. Instead, I would use artificial light, but since my room light is kind of weak, I used this lamp instead. And normally, you would put a lamp like this, but that is a bad decision because having directional lighting like this makes filming kind of tough, especially when the light gets into the shot. The shadows are just too sharp and it's hard to see. It's better to have the light where the sun would be, which would be up here and where I placed mine. For filming, I use a T8i camera. My old camera broke, which is kind of the reason why this video was delayed, but luckily, I got this one for only $400 off OfferUp. Then a simple tripod, and finally, of course, some army men, which you can look at this video for info, which is kind of old. There we go. The stop motion setup is done. Nothing complicated, and I'm sure most of you can achieve something similar. Animating army men isn't hard. On a flat desk, you have the 2D range of movement, up, down, left, right, but using something like blue tack, you can fully use the more complex motions like this. Blue tack was used extensively in this film. It stops things from moving, and it helps with animating. You can get some for a couple bucks if you're interested. This explosion scene originally had blue tack holding up the soldiers, but it was digitally removed. But of course, you can hide blue tack without VFX, such as here. The soldier simply covers it, or the shot doesn't even show it. Using blue tack helped make the stop motion much more fluid and natural. The stop motion was shot at only 12 FPS, literally 2 more frames per second than this. The difference mostly is in skill. The animated recoil, for one, made the gunshots much more impactful than something like this. And it really isn't that hard to animate, but I ought to save that for another tutorial. Other details like the soldiers waving back and forth while running, the way they stop shaking when they don't talk, and the crawling motion, it all brings the quality up a notch. Now let's talk about this. I think a lot of you liked it, and it's simply just lighting. Look at this scene from Plastic Apocalypse. People praise this film for many reasons, but they never talk crap about it. Anyone with functional eyeballs can tell you that this is not right. As a kid, I ignored this and thought, wow, how did he film at night? This looks so amazing. But now that my eyeballs have grown, I look at this and see something that looks terrible. It's just a blue filter without lighting and it feels wrong, broken. So instead of following the plastic apocalypse, let's do the simple idea of adding in lighting. I did this for my old Army Men vs Star Wars video with a red light, but this time we'll use a yellow one. But I know some of you will be saying, Nim Productions, I don't have a yellow light. How am I ever gonna make good VFX? Well, I got you covered. Welcome to this Nim Productions exclusive tutorial. I'll teach you how to make a yellow light. So what you'll need is a pencil grip, yellow clay, and an iPhone or Android. What you want to do is take the case off your phone. Alright, your phone should look something like this. And then what you want to do is turn on the light on your phone. And look at this, look at this. Did you know that if you hold here, you could change the brightness of your light? Oh my god, look, it's like I can make the light brighter if the explosion is brighter, and I can make it dimmer the next frame. That's amazing. Anyways, what you want to do, put on the light. Well, oh look, you got a small white light, but guess what? We can make it yellow. Just get a bit of yellow clay. And I think you do this with a yellow piece of paper or a sticky note. Oh, look at that, look at that. Oh my goodness. Oh, press it down a little bit. And now we have a yellow light, but it's not small enough. So we get the pencil grip and then we stick it right there. And there we go. We got a small yellow light. Now we could get our toy soldier. We could shine it on him. There we go. This is how true VFX is done. Oh my goodness. So if everyone could just use their brains and try out this 100 IQ strategy, you can make great VFX in no time. Mixing digital and physical effects is the best way to make something slightly stretched off reality. This explosion scene is a great example of everything I just talked about. So let's do a breakdown. Here is the original scene, and if you want to tell if your stop motion is good, watch it and see if you can understand what is happening without audio or effects. Here you can clearly understand what is happening. A quick dramatic pan, the flying soldiers, and the light. But as an animator, you also have to time how much stop motion you make. Being exploded would last like 1 second, so maybe 12 images of them getting blown up. Almost correct. Next was the VFX. Explosion, smoke, a burnt texture, and a little fire. Oh, and also that rocket. Where did I get all of these effects, you ask? Well, a lot of the effects in this film were from Production Crate, and are completely free. I edited my VFX scenes in After Effects, but you could probably do it in a free editing software like DaVinci. Just add it, resize it, add a blending layer, put a 3D effect, add this, and wait a minute. Yes, keeping your camera still is very useful for stop motions, but I wanted some action, so I ditched that. Instead, I had to animate the VFX to move with the table, which isn't that hard. It's just like stop motion, but on a computer. There you go. But something is off, isn't it? It's realistic for sure, but it doesn't feel like an explosion. That's because of camera shake. This is a feature that I barely see in Argument stop motions, but it has a major effect. In many of my battle scenes, artificial camera motion is used to make the scene more chaotic. This preset is from a YouTube video, and you can just drag it on and done. Here is the final product. This scene has the same principles applied. You can tell what is happening with just the raw footage. Here I use the light for tracers instead of a muzzle flash or a explosion. And even though there are a ton of muzzle flashes, there aren't any lights for the muzzle flashes in this scene. This is because of the idea I call makeup. When you use makeup, it's for the part of the body that is seen the most. Not the arm, the leg, whatever. It's only for the face. It's the same idea here. Hardly anyone will look at these soldiers in the background shooting. The focus is here, so less makeup is needed for those background soldiers. Why put effort into something that basically wouldn't be seen? With the flares out of the way, let's look at the tracers. Tracers are a good way to spice up a battle. Having a visual view of bullets whizzing around is exhilarating. Tracers were a little hard to add although, because they were hand animated. With a shot like this, they are moving with perspective, so they are smaller the farther away and huge close to the camera. You simply can't make that with a JPEG tracer and dragging it around. I mean, look at this. This doesn't work. The tracers were just a mask of a yellow solid, keyframed, and here you can see that it looks more organic instead of just a stiff object. I might also do an in-depth tutorial on these tracers as well, but I'll need some views. Now let's switch gears and look at another VFX shot real quick. In my recent videos, I have a special power that allows me to manipulate space and time, expressed by these digital pixels. Now, this might seem like a simple VFX shot, right? It's just a video of me holding the tank, putting it over a table that isn't really there, and the table is just simply pasted in, which was pretty simple because it was just a square. But wait a minute. Yes, again, filming VFX isn't just a thing done at the computer, but actually planned. The fake shot of the table had me recreate the shadow to make it more realistic. And yeah, you can see it's a little imperfect, but it's real enough to make you not even notice it, which is the goal. So we've been talking about VFX for stop motions as well as real life. Now let's put it together. The gem of this film has to be the human and toy soldier interactions. It made it really feel like they were there, fighting over a bully while I was just sitting there telling you how to make it. So let's take a look at this scene.
What is it? Cronky! Oh, duck and roll!
I filmed the first parts of the stop motion, as you can see, without the cover. Then I switched to recording the picking up. Easy, right? Just put my hand picking up the paint bottle over the toy soldiers in editing. But sadly, it isn't that simple. You see, the shadow from the paint bottle overlaps the soldier's position, but the soldiers are stop motion. How can I make the paint bottle's shadow show up on the stop motion? Well, my idea was to animate the shadow, picking up the bottle in the same exact timing as a live action clip. But this did not work that well because it was very, well, bad. I didn't time it that well, and the shadow didn't match perfectly as well as the paint bottle. So now you had two clips that were kind of eh. I ended up having to digitally remove a lot of overlaps using Photoshop on individual frames. One big flaw is how this shadow magically fades, but you never noticed it, did you? Now I added muzzle flashes, some fake bullet holes, a dramatic death, and Mikamation's brilliant voice acting.
Okay, I am now going to record Bloody Hell. Okay. Bloody Hell!
I still can't believe I did all that for a little gag, less than 10 seconds. Let's move a little faster, shall we? This scene was just a simple recording, no stop motion whatsoever, because the soldiers were too far away. Again, the makeup principle. Instead, flashy VFX is used to make the battle look like it's happening. The same is done for this talking scene, though it's much less flashy. This scene was filmed very wide, and the dollar was animated to fall here. Then I just recorded my finger on it, and perfectly timed the motion of the live action with the stop motion. Fake camera movement and zooming in made it more dramatic. I can probably talk about these scenes for an abnormally long time, but this video can't go on forever. Instead, let's talk about this scene. A wide shot of the soldiers shooting was difficult enough. Adding all the hits, smoke, flares, and tracers individually, I didn't even bother to add recoil in the stop motion. But the biggest issue was me. Here in the original scene, I planned ahead and added a green screen, which is essentially a green poster board from Dollar Tree. And it would be easy, key it out, put me in the background, but I stupidly made a mistake. I left the soldiers there in the live action take, and that just wouldn't work. You can clearly see the overlaid soldiers, and if I just moved those damn things out of the way when filming, I wouldn't have to do this. I basically had to digitally remove them using Photoshop and Content Aware in After Effects. It was painstaking, removing each soldier with a moving door and a darkening background, and you can see how difficult this was. And even when it was done, it was pretty sloppy. Looking closely at the final scene, the glitches are visible. The door, and you can actually see some of the soldier that was left over. But with the flashy effects, you never noticed, did you? Ultimately, I hope by watching this video, you start to understand what goes into making a stop motion. The planning, creativity, animating, editing, it all forms together to make a film. And hopefully, you might want to take up that mess and try making up your own films. We will be waiting. And as always, I hope you enjoyed, and make sure to make some more fun.